Thank you for joining us. Special shout out to Mike Scheffler at Citywide Title. He is the host of this podcast, but he allowed for me to sub for him today. Why don't we start with a quick introduction of who you are?
My name is Merissa Alexander. I go by Merissa the Star Realtor. And I decided to use Star as my brand because I give all of my clients star quality experiences. I've been a realtor for 6 years, 7 years come May 1st.
Awesome.
And just been doing my thing.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'll also give a quick blurb about myself. I think we've been working with each other for about 6 to 7 months now. I think it's been a very fruitful relationship, and I can absolutely ditto the fact that you provide your clients star services. So thank you for joining us today, but we'll hop right into it. So what are some top mistakes you've seen buyers make, and how can they avoid them?
Some of the top mistakes buyers make is starting the process without fully being prepared. So, for instance, looking at homes in certain price ranges without talking to a lender first. That's one of the main mistakes a lot of buyers make. So, before a buyer starts looking at homes, they should talk to a lender first so that they're not shopping out of their price range or, pretty much just setting themselves up for disappointments.
Awesome. And speaking to that, what advice do you have for first-time home buyers navigating the current market?
Well, I know a lot of buyers, first-time, but buyers in general are really stuck on the interest rate thing. So I would advise buyers to not so much as worry about the interest rates because of the simple fact, if interest rates were ever to plummet again, you can always refi. So as long as you are financially and mentally ready to be a homeowner, then I will tell anyone to give it a go.
Yeah, awesome. And I think one of your lenders we worked with before was very helpful with one of your buyers in helping them to purchase points. And they use those points to buy down their interest rate, right?
Yeah. Points. That's another thing with first-time home buyers. I know a lot of them ask about grants and down payment assistance. So I pride myself in making sure that I am connected and partnered with some of the best lenders who offer all these types of grants and assistance for buyers.
That's a great segue into our next question. With interest rates fluctuating, what financing tips do you give buyers right now?
Well, definitely want to have some money saved. It looks better. It is better to have money saved. Regardless if you're getting grants or any type of assistance, you still just want to have some money saved. Have I closed deals before with buyers that came in with literally $500?
I've seen that, yeah.
Yes, I have. I've definitely closed deals where the buyers were literally check. Paying for inspection and was like, I gotta wait till I get paid. So this is how I knew they didn't have any money saved up. But was this person still able to buy a house? Yes. Is that the way I recommend buyers to come into the game? Absolutely not. But just financially, you want to have some money saved. I always say at least a minimum of $10,000 is a safe spot. And then be honest with your real estate agent, which is me, Merissa the Star Realtor, with your finances, because then that allows me to know what I can negotiate from the seller for you.
Awesome. And so would you say that that's a way for home buyers to improve their chances of getting approved for a mortgage, is having money saved, or what other tips would you provide for that? Well,
getting approved for a mortgage, based on my most recent closes, having a certain amount of money saved is not really the main thing. It's really your credit score and your DTI, which is debt to income. So this buyer, for instance, she had a decent credit score. She was in the high 600s. Her DTI wasn't too high.
And DTI is debt to income.
The debt to income, your debt versus your income.
Okay.
So hers wasn't too high, but she didn't have a lot of money saved. She was on her job for decades. So she met all of the qualifications, basically. So the money saved was just kind of like, okay, we'll just figure out how to get her some grants and a seller's credit. And that's pretty much what we did for her. That's how she was able to buy.
Awesome. And what strategies do you recommend for buyers in a highly competitive market when submitting offers to maybe a hot property that you're going to get multiple offers on?
To not worry about the value. A lot of buyers, when they're submitting offers, you have the ones that just follow their realtor's lead, and then you have the others that, kind of move in a way of like they know what to do. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I don't think the property is worth that much. I always say, well, we don't know. We don't know how much the property is worth, but you will have an appraisal. Every buyer will have an appraisal. And at that point, we're going to see how much the property is actually worth. So when we're dealing with a hot property in a competitive market, we want to submit an offer based on how much you really want this house. Mm-hmm. So even if the listing price is $320, if you really want this house and you can afford to submit an offer for $350, let's do that, because you're in a competitive market. Yeah. So at this point, the highest offer is what's going to grab the seller's attention, not what you feel is worth. Yeah. And if your offer is accepted, what's that, 20, 50, 30,000 over the asking price, now when you have your appraisal, if it appraises under the 350, the lender is only going to pay what it appraises for anyways. So it's not like you're buying a property overvalued.
So how can sellers make their property stand out in a crowded market?
In a crowded market, so basically if this seller has other competitors on the market in their area about the same price range, what can they do to stand out?
Yes.
I would say list under. So when I'm representing a seller and we're in a hot market, that's a tactic that I've used and it actually works. So if all of these 3 bedrooms, 2 bath homes are listed for $320, I'm gonna come in at probably like $315, $310. That's the price I will list it at, because all of the buyers that are looking at this $320 price point, of course they're gonna come and look at yours because it's cheaper and it's the same. They're getting the same amount of house. So if they could get the same amount of house for a lesser price, which one would you go with?
Yeah. And
right?
So are you trying to start a bidding war there?
Basically, yes. Okay. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm starting a bidding war on my seller's property because everyone is going to come in trying to get this property. So they're going to, eventually what's going to happen is my seller is still going to end at probably above the $320 anyways. But I'm grabbing everyone's attention with the lower price.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you handle difficult clients or challenging negotiations?
It takes a lot of patience. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Thank God I haven't really had too many very difficult clients. Most of my clients really trust me and they just trust the process. But if I do run into a situation where I have a client that's a little bit more stubborn or difficult, I just continue to give them my advice as the expert. But I mean, it's a very tricky situation because you can only do so much, right? I can only tell you what's best for you and your situation as a buyer or a seller so many times. And after a while, we just kind of fall back. And I feel like that's with realtors in general. Like you pick up when your client is not following your lead. So it kind of puts puts us in a hard space because like, okay, I'm trying to do my best to get this property sold or to, help you buy a house. But if you're being difficult, it's not like I'm trying to rush you or tell you what to do, but technically I'm the expert here. So if you follow my lead, we can get this done. If you don't, it's only going to be harder for you, for me, for everyone involved. So it's really about having patience and just knowing how to talk to your clients. And you also have to know when to cut it off. We have to have a limit as realtors. We have to, or we will drain ourselves. So I have learned when it's time to cut it off.
Yeah.
When it's time to disconnect from a client in a very, professional way. We could end it on good terms, but maybe I'm not the best fit for you. That's always the best way to probably try to end it, is just say, maybe I'm not the best fit. I could refer you to another realtor that may be able to, meet your expectations. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay, and so what led you to become a realtor, and what keeps you passionate about your job?
Wow, this is a really good question. So at the time when I became a realtor, I was a stay-at-home mom, and this is my first time trying this out. I've been working since the age of 16 by choice. So I've just always been the type of person that just wanted my own money. So that's why I just went out as soon as I could and got a job. And so at the time when I was being a stay-at-home mom, it was like different for me. I'm like, okay, it's cool, but I didn't like it because I don't like not making my own money. So my kid's father, he was the one who actually was like, what else would you like to do to where you still have the flexibility?
Yeah.
And I thought of a few things. I started Ubering for a little bit. I'm like, okay. And then he was like, no, you should become a realtor. And I was like, a realtor? Because it was nowhere near like in my vision of anything that I would do. So I was like, a realtor? And he was like, yeah, you'll be good at it. He's like, look up the classes, courses, whatever. He said, I'll pay for everything. And that's exactly what he did. And I just did what he told me to do. I became a realtor, and now I've found a passion in doing it because I just love property. I love real estate. Like now when I drive and I'm in certain neighborhoods or looking at certain houses, it's like I just look at it in a different light now. Yeah. And definitely becoming a realtor has taught me so much. I've learned so much about a lot, credit, just so much, and education that I'm able to spread.
Yeah.
Knowledge that I'm able to spread, I should say. So that's my passion now, is spreading the knowledge.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom wasn't a homeowner. My dad knew a little bit about buying property, but not as much as I feel like if he knew now, he would be at a different level in life, So that's the passion for me, helping people meet their goals of being homeowners, and those who desire to be a homeowner, I'm able to educate them and guide them on how to do so.
Yeah, nice. So now that you are the person skilled in teaching people how to become homeowners, what are some tactics that you use when negotiating and getting them to the closing table?
Tactics in negotiating. So again, it all depends on the property. It all depends on how long it's been on the market. So I look at all of those things. The first thing I always look at when I have a client that's interested in the property is, how long has it been on the market? How many times has it been under contract and back on the market? That's very important, because if it's been under contract 3 times and it keeps coming back on the market, something about it is not sitting well with the potential buyers and they're canceling the deal. So I use all of those things to maneuver this offer. That lets me know if I'm either going to do a low ball offer or if I'm going to offer what the seller is asking for, but ask for a very healthy credit for my client. I just look at different factors with the property, and that determines how I will submit an offer.
Nice. So you likely have a lot of local contacts, from contractors to inspectors to other attorneys. How do you manage those relationships in a way that it benefits your clients?
Well, I kind of get to know. So all of my local contacts that I have, I kind of get a feel for them, like a friend. And same thing with my clients. I get a feel for them. So that's kind of how I pick and choose who I send to who and who I connect with who. And also based on what their needs are. So if I have a client that I know needs a lot of financing help, grants, down payment assistance, then that's how I kind of determine what lender I will send them to.
Okay.
Because every lender is different. Some lenders offer different grants, and some really don't offer much of anything. So
yeah.
So that's how I know how to, pair who with who.
Awesome. So negotiating a deal can make or break your sale. What's your approach to negotiations, and how do you keep the deal moving forward?
So, first things first, I come in favor of the seller. So I want to grab the seller's attention. Once I get the seller right where I want them, which is basically when I get my offer accepted, then we have our home inspection. And at that point, I will use the home inspection to now negotiate on the price or negotiate any credits that we could maybe get. And And then as far as to make the deal continue to move forward, I try not to be greedy as well. And I let my clients know as well, we can't be greedy, because you have some clients that will be like, oh, we'll ask them for $20,000. I recently had a client try to do that. Not only is the seller paying a buyer's agent compensation, for those of you guys who know about the NAR settlement, sellers once upon a time, it was mandatory that they paid a buyer's agent compensation. Now it's an option. So if a seller is already paying a buyer's agent, and then they're also given a credit, and there's wiggle room on the price, you don't want to be too greedy, because that could definitely kill a deal. So I try to keep both my client and the sellers in mind when I'm negotiating a deal. Awesome. So it doesn't seem like we're just like overkilling.
Okay. And that's a perfect segue into the next question. Home inspections and appraisals can sometimes uncover surprises. What common issues do you see, and how can sellers or even buyers prepare for the home inspection?
Well, this is when a person is selling their home, right? I feel like it wouldn't hurt for them to maybe have their own inspection before putting the property on the market, because what the problem is, when you've lived in your house for so many years, you tend to believe that there's nothing wrong with it, because you're so immune to whatever you have developed in this house over the years. So it's like, if you have a home inspection, now this inspector is coming in and he's letting you know what's going on with the house, things that you probably didn't even notice. And now you have the ability as the seller to repair those things before buyers are coming in, right? Because now once the buyers come in and they have their home inspection, whatever is going on with your house could either scare them or it may not scare them. But just to avoid that, just, do the repairs prior to would help for sure. And now as far as with appraisals, sellers being overpriced, sometimes that's not always their fault, because if their realtor is suggesting that they list at a certain price, then if the seller is just following their realtor's lead, then that's a big issue, because now if the seller is expecting to walk away with X amount of dollars, and then the appraisal takes place and it underappraises $10,000 or $15,000. Now that's an issue because the seller probably already agreed to giving a certain amount of credits, or there's no telling what the seller probably already agreed to. And now this appraisal, because appraisals happen towards the end of the deal, once all agreements have already been made. So if the seller has already agreed to giving a buyer a certain amount of credits, and now the appraisal happens and the appraisal is $15,000 under the purchase price, now we run into we have to renegotiate everything. We got to renegotiate the terms, credits, purchase price, all of that.
Yeah.
So really being mindful of your list price is very important to avoid an appraisal issue.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have a good attorney on your team as well. Typically within your attorney review letter, you state, if the appraisal doesn't come out at the contract price, then the price it's mandatory that the price gets reduced to whatever the appraisal price is.
Right.
And so that's why it's always important to have good attorneys on your team.
Absolutely.
To include within attorney review that you can only purchase at what the bank appraises it for. So we protect everybody on that end, both buyers and sellers. Going on to our next question. So qualifying buyers is key to closing a deal. What's your process for ensuring a buyer is serious and financially capable?
So when a person contacts me and says, hey, I'm interested in buying, what do I have to do? I pre-screen them first. Before I even send them to a lender, I ask them a few qualifying questions. How long have you been on your job? Have you filed taxes for the last 2 years? What's your credit score? Do you have any bankruptcies or, late payments, missed payments? I ask those questions because it will let me know if you're even ready to be sent to a lender. I don't like wasting anyone's time. So it's like I wouldn't want to waste the potential buyer's time, and I wouldn't want to waste the lender's time either. So once those questions all align, then I send them to one of my preferred lenders who would then now get them pre-qualified. I will also ask questions like, I will ask if they have any money saved up, because then that lets me know what lender to send them to. Mm-hmm. If they really don't have a lot of funds saved up, then I know I'm sending them to X, Y, and Z. If I know they are financially set, then I know I could kind of play with who to send them with. So that's kind of how I prepare buyers.
Nice. So what should buyers or sellers look for when they're choosing a real estate agent?
Well, you definitely want to go with someone that is very authentic and honest, because when buying a house or a property of any kind, you don't want someone that is just trying to get a check. Okay, you want someone that is going to treat the transaction as if it was their own. And based on my reviews, that's what a lot of people like about me. Anyone I deal with, buyer or seller, I treat that transaction as if I'm the one. This is my house that I'm selling. Yeah. This is a house that I'm looking to buy. So I'm not just going to let my clients just buy something and don't disclose certain things to them that I know. If I know something, I'll let. Now listen, this is what's going on with the property. If you want to still move forward with it, that's fine. Because some people are okay with buying a property knowing certain things is going on with it. Some people are perfectly fine with that. My job, as long as I disclose it, then I've done my part.
Yeah.
Same thing with sellers. Sellers have to be willing to hear everything, the good and the bad, about their property. So when choosing an agent, you want someone that's going to be honest with you, because that's how you're going to meet your end goal. That's how you're either going to buy or either going to sell. I know a lot of people tend to go with who's more popular, but you also have to think about it. If that person is that popular in real estate, right? How much time are they really going to be able to dedicate to you as their client? So I've sold homes before that were sitting on the market for almost a year until the contract expired, and I was able to sell it within a couple months. And then when I'm talking to the seller, I'm like, well, did the last agent do an open house? No. How many showings did you have? Oh, I don't know. And it's like, okay, I don't go look up the agent, but I'm just thinking maybe this agent was too busy, to even really put the time in this transaction. Does that mean I'm not busy? No. But I mean, I'm not going to take on something that I can't handle. So sometimes it's really good as agents as well to, it's okay to share the commission. So if I know I'm overwhelmed with listings and buyers, I'm okay with doing a co-broker, where it's me and another agent that's helping a client so that the client is getting full attention.
Yeah.
Either from me or from the other agent. But, some of these agents, they just want it all for themselves. And it's very hard to manage so many deals by yourself. Yeah. Someone is not going to get some type of attention. So that's another thing I think is very important when choosing an agent. Don't always go for the one that's popping the most on social media or the ones that, super, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it sounds like what you're saying is it comes down to organization. And I think that one thing that I've experienced, especially with working with you, is that you are organized. And it doesn't matter how popular you are on Instagram. I think that one thing that is common knowledge at this point is just because people like your post or like to follow your influence does not mean that you are good at your job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that we can speak from experience just from our previous transactions that you are organized and that you do a good job as a realtor. And I think that that's important when you're choosing your realtor, especially somebody who you want to advocate for you when it's time to get the job done. So Absolutely. My hat is off to you on that.
Thank you.
So that segues into our next question. How do you handle difficult clients or challenging negotiations?
So difficult clients, just got to be very mindful of what you say and how you say it. That's with any client. If you're dealing with a client that seems to be very stubborn or, straight on what they want and they're not really taking your lead, that's what I consider a difficult client, because the honest truth is that buying, if we're talking about buying a house, is not as hard as a lot of people think. It doesn't take as long as some people think. If you come in knowing what you want, stick to that and follow what the experts are saying, which is whoever your realtor is. If you're following their lead, then you will get to your end goal a lot quicker. Same thing for sellers. If you listen to what your realtor is asking you to do to the property, whether it is, okay, let's update the paint before we list it, or, maybe we can touch up the cabinets or something, because technically we know what the market is looking for. We know what buyers are looking for as well. So it makes our job easier. Especially when it comes to selling a property, it makes our job easier if our client kind of listens to us and kind of make small adjustments to the house that we're asking for, because we already know this is what buyers are going to come in and see and complain about. So it's really just being very transparent, like beyond transparent, which is why it's very important that you really have a very good relationship with your clients, to the point where you can talk to them like they're family. Like, hey, this is what it is, and that's just what it is. This is what I need you to do if you want this to work. If you want this to happen, this is what I need you to do.
Yeah. So with that said, what would be a good point for someone to reach out to a realtor, both a buyer and a seller?
When would be a good point?
Yeah.
Well, when selling, I think the good point to reach out to a realtor is when you decide, once you have made up your mind, I want to sell my home, at that point you should reach out to a realtor. Even if you actually end up listing it and putting it on the market a year later, once you've known in your mind, I want to sell this house, you reach out to your realtor, because now your realtor will guide you on what to do to bring that house up to par. And that may just take a year for you to do that. Yeah. It may be updating the cabinets, or, you know, if you really want to sell quick, it may be some cosmetic updates needed. So if you wait until like, I want to sell in June, and then you contact a realtor in April, you might not have the time to really do a lot of the things that the house might need. Now, if the house is ready to go, then you want to sell, you call a realtor and get it done.
Yeah.
Now with buyers, I always say it depends on your time frame. So if you know that your lease is up in 6 months and you know that you don't plan to renew your lease, then you want to contact a realtor like ASAP. Mm-hmm. Because you need to know first if you can even buy. There's a lot of buyers or potential buyers that don't know that they need to be on their job for at least 2 years. So they might be thinking, oh, I could buy, I got the credit score, I make good money at work, I should be able to buy with no problem. And then they call me and they're like, well, my lease is up in 2 months. And I'm like, well, how long you been on your job? Oh, it'll be 2 years in. And I'm like, oh, well, you can't buy as of yet. You gotta wait until you've made 2 years.
Yeah.
So if a potential buyer is not fully knowledgeable on the steps and the requirements of purchasing, I feel like at least a year in advance before you think you're ready.
Yeah.
So if you think you're going to be ready in 2025, you should already be talking to a realtor in 2024. Yeah. You should already be talking to a realtor and getting yourself prepared, getting your documents and everything prepared.
Awesome. Well, and just to wrap up, what is the best way for people to reach out to you? And are you open to receiving new clients right now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Come on. So the really good thing is that interest rates I know a lot of people have been like, interest rates, mm-hmm. they have dropped, I believe, a half point or so. So, I mean, I'm not too fixed on the interest rates. I feel like if you're ready to buy, you're ready to buy. You can handle the interest rates later, right? I don't think interest rates should stop anyone from purchasing a home. As far as contacting me, my number is 773-816-2400. Again, 773-816-2400. My Instagram is only1_star_realtor.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming out today. This was amazing.
Thank you.